Have you ever wondered what happens when K-pop meets the raw elite of the American music industry? Beyond stadium tours, there is a secret world of peer-to-peer respect and unexpected studio link-ups between BTS and Hollywood royalty. Today, we crack open the ultimate industry vault. Which member completely transformed Western pop? Who became a secret weapon for legendary hip-hop icons? And who is treated like actual family by a rock god? Get ready as we count down BTS members ranked exclusively by their clout among American artists. Who claims the throne? Let's find out.
Number 7, The Rock Royalty Connection, Secret Brotherhood Unlocked. When you look at the landscape of international music collaborations, it is incredibly easy to get distracted by the sheer quantity of names on a track list. But our countdown kicks off with a man who completely flips the script on what it means to be influential in the Western music industry. Number 7 belongs to the eldest member of BTS, Jin, and his position on this list is a fascinating study in depth over distance, proving that true popularity among American and Western artists isn't about collecting a massive Rolodex of casual acquaintances at Hollywood after-parties, but rather about forging soul-deep, lifelong creative brotherhoods with absolute legends. If you look purely at the surface, you might think Jin has fewer Western collaborations compared to his bandmates, but the moment you pull back the curtain, you realize that his primary connection is with one of the biggest, most enduring stadium rock bands in human history, Coldplay. This isn't just a standard corporate crossover set up by music executives to manipulate streaming algorithms. This is a genuine, multi-year artistic romance that completely reshaped how the Western rock elite views K-pop performers. The story of Jin's unmatched clout in these elite alternative rock circles truly crystallized during the creation of his solo debut single, The Astronaut, a track that wasn't just handed over as a generic demo, but was meticulously co-written by Chris Martin himself, alongside his own son Moses Martin, and polished by the legendary Norwegian electronic production wizard Kygo. Think about the gravity of that for a second, because rock purists are notoriously fiercely protective of their craft, yet Chris Martin was so deeply enchanted by Jin's unique vocal color and his incredibly pure, humble approach to artistry that he welcomed him into his inner sanctum. The emotional depth of this relationship was laid bare for the entire world to see when Chris Martin did the unthinkable for a veteran guitarist. He gifted Jin his absolute favorite acoustic guitar, an instrument that had traveled with Martin through decades of historic world tours, signed with a heartfelt note to his brother. This level of reverence culminated in an iconic, tear-jerking moment at the River Plate Stadium in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where Jin flew halfway across the planet just to perform the song live with Coldplay right before his mandatory military enlistment, creating an atmospheric, cinematic memory of Chris Martin running across a stadium stage of over 70,000 screaming fans just to wrap Jin in a massive paternal embrace. Even as we move through 2026, long after his military discharge, this legendary bond has only grown deeper and more integrated into the fabric of both artists' lives. During Coldplay's monumental 2025 stadium shows in Seoul, behind-the-scenes footage captured on Bangtan TV revealed that Jin received the ultimate princess treatment from the band, with Chris Martin casually and playfully hoisting Jin up onto his shoulders like a beloved younger brother during soundcheck rehearsals, while they giggled and practiced singing My Universe together. The sheer comfort and casual nature of their friendship is so profound that when a viral kiss cam cheating scandal shook a Coldplay concert in the United States, Jin was openly joking and teasing his bro Chris Martin about it during his own solo fan meetings in Anaheim during his Run Sakjin EP tour, showing they text and communicate like everyday friends without any of the stiff formalities of the corporate music business.
Musically, American rock and pop producers frequently rave about Jin because his vocal technique is uniquely suited for the grand, sweeping walls of sound that define stadium alternative music. Unlike the trendy, heavily auto-tuned falsettos or trap-adjacent cadences that saturate the modern American Billboard charts, Jin relies on a soaring, deeply resonant belting style and an emotionally transparent delivery that can cut through a stadium mix of live drums and distorted guitars. This artistic respect is further validated by his astonishing solo chart runs, such as his 2025 single Don't Say You Love Me and his mini-album Echo, dominating the top spots on Billboard Japan and achieving historic longevity on global Spotify charts, proving his solo rock-pop sensibilities hold immense international power. In his recent 2026 global feature with Rolling Stone magazine, which rolled out a massive historic project across 16 countries simultaneously, Jin spoke with profound emotional clarity about his absolute loyalty to his group, reflecting that true artistic brotherhood is built on unwavering trust and shared experiences, a sentiment that resonates deeply with veteran Western groups who know just how rare and fragile that kind of synergy is. This is exactly why the American rock royalty respects Jin so intensely. They don't see him as a fleeting marketing tool to tap into the massive powerhouse of the ARMY fandom, but rather as an authentic, fiercely loyal vocalist who embodies the classic, old-school spirit of stadium rock and roll. Jin has proven to the entire global music community that you do not need to chase after every single trendy producer in Los Angeles or hop on every viral rap remix to solidify your legacy in the West. Instead, by pouring his heart into a singular, monumental connection, he secured a permanent seat at the table of rock royalty, leaving fans and industry insiders endlessly wondering what kind of explosive stadium anthems this iconic cross-cultural brotherhood will cook up next as BTS embarks on their highly anticipated 2026 Arirang World Tour.
Number 6. V. The Velvet Baritone, rewriting the rules of modern jazz. As we move up our countdown, we transition from the grand, stadium-shaking rock arenas into the smoky, dimly lit, and notoriously exclusive world of traditional American jazz and neo-soul, introducing a member whose popularity in the West completely defies the standard laws of modern pop music. Number 6 belongs to V, also known as Kim Tae-young, a visionary artist who has successfully accomplished something that mainstream music critics once thought was completely impossible for a foreign idol, earning the genuine, deep-seated reverence of old-school American jazz purists, multi-Grammy-winning instrumentalists, and the estate keepers of Hollywood's golden era. To truly understand why V's clout among American musicians is so deeply fascinating, you have to first look at the unique physical and artistic instrument he possesses, because the modern American music landscape is absolutely saturated with high-pitched tenors, aggressive rap cadences, and heavily auto-tuned commercial hooks designed specifically for short-form social media viral trends. But the moment V opens his mouth, he unleashes a rich, velvet, deep soul baritone that feels less like modern radio pop and more like a warm, crackling vinyl record from a 1950s New York jazz lounge, a rare vocal texture that instantly caught the attention of Western musical elites who value raw vocal identity over synthetic production. This deep-seated respect from the American industry was put on full, glorious display during one of the most viral and highly talked-about moments in recent Grammy history when multi-instrumentalist and Academy darling Jon Batiste openly gravitated toward V, leading to a series of legendary backstage interactions, shared meals, and mutual musical admiration that sent shockwaves through both the K-pop and jazz communities. Jon Batiste, a musical virtuoso who breathes the very history of American blues and jazz, didn't just see V as a passing global trend. He recognized him as a kindred creative spirit who genuinely studies the complex chord progressions, the improvisational scatting, and the emotional nuances of jazz legends like Chet Baker, Billie Holiday, and Sammy Davis Jr.
But if you think his industry respect stops at casual Grammy friendships, you are deeply mistaken, because V's ability to cross over into the elite American indie R&B and soul scene reached a creative peak with his monumental collaboration with American singer-songwriter Umi on the critically acclaimed track Where You Are. What makes this particular link-up so incredibly special and revealing about V's standing among American artists is that it was completely organic, born not out of cold corporate music label deals or executive mandates, but out of a shared artistic philosophy and a mutual appreciation for healing low-frequency soul music that addresses human connection on a deeply spiritual level. American music producers who worked behind the scenes on his solo masterpiece album Layover frequently express absolute awe at V's meticulous vocal direction, noting that he possesses an innate, old-school understanding of rhythm and blues, choosing to lay down smoky, understated, and emotionally transparent vocal tracks rather than hiding behind complex electronic engineering. This authentic dedication to the roots of American music culminated in what is arguably one of the most historic and mind-blowing cosigns in the history of global entertainment, the legendary estate of Bing Crosby selecting V to participate in a monumental cross-generational reimagining of the ultimate holiday classic, White Christmas. Let that sink in for a moment, because the Bing Crosby estate is notoriously fiercely protective of the late icon's legendary catalog, rarely ever allowing anyone to touch his master recordings, let alone weave a new voice into them. Yet they specifically sought out Kim Tae-young because they recognized that his timeless vocal timbre and his respectful, sophisticated artistic aura perfectly embodied the classic mid-century American pop standard tradition. Throughout 2025 and stretching deep into 2026, as the music industry witnesses the monumental return of BTS, American vocal coaches and musicologists continued to dedicate endless hours analyzing V's unique vocal placement, praising his ability to effortlessly transition from a smoky, breathy lower register to a soaring, rich falsetto that carries the heavy emotional weight of traditional torch songs. Even Hollywood A-listers and global pop icons like Lady Gaga have been captured completely charmed by V's effortless retro charisma and confident, gentlemanly social presence at major American award shows, proving that his impact extends far beyond the recording studio and into the very social fabric of Hollywood's inner circles. What makes V's popularity among American artists so incredibly enduring and structurally unique is that he never once compromised his deeply personal, vintage, and eccentric musical tastes just to chase a cheap, temporary Billboard hit or fit into the rigid, fast-paced mold of mainstream Western pop music. Instead, he forced the Western music industry to slow down, put on a pair of headphones, and appreciate the timeless, slow-burning beauty of jazz and soul. By staying fiercely true to his artistic identity and leaning into his love for classic Americana vinyl culture, V has carved out a highly specialized, untouchable sanctuary of respect among the true gatekeepers of American musical history, leaving audiences around the world endlessly captivated by how this velvet-voiced icon will continue to bridge the gap between the golden age of Hollywood and the futuristic vanguard of global music.
Number 5. Jimin. The ethereal chart topper, Hollywood's ultimate angelic obsession. When you take a step back and examine the sheer mechanics of the American music industry, you quickly realize that it is a world completely obsessed with distinct vocal signatures. And that brings us perfectly to the 5th spot on our countdown, a member whose impact on the Western music landscape is nothing short of historic. Number 5 belongs to the gravity-defying vocalist and contemporary dance virtuoso Jimin, an artist who has managed to completely conquer the cutthroat American mainstream pop market, not by trying to mimic the traditional sounds of Western radio, but by introducing a mesmerizing, high-register countertenor voice that American producers openly describe as an absolute rarity in modern music. To understand the true depth of Jimin's popularity among American artists and Hollywood elites, we have to look back at the absolute seismic shockwave he sent through the entire global music infrastructure when he dropped his solo track Like Crazy and officially became the first ever South Korean solo artist to hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart.
You have to understand that the Billboard Hot 100 is widely considered the absolute holy grail of the American music business, a chart notoriously difficult for non-English singing artists to penetrate, let alone dominate. Yet Jimin achieved this monumental feat, instantly forcing every major A-list producer, songwriter, and executive in Los Angeles to sit up and recognize his undeniable power. American hitmakers who have spent decades crafting chart-topping records for Western icons were suddenly lining up to understand his creative process, with top-tier producers like Tommy Brown and Taylor Hill openly praising his terrifyingly meticulous work ethic in the studio, noting that Jimin is a relentless perfectionist who will stay up until the sun rises just to perfect the emotional delivery of a single syllable or the breathy texture of a falsetto layer. This massive industry reverence quickly spilled over from the recording studios directly into the high-stakes world of Hollywood blockbuster cinema, leading to one of the most star-studded and explosive Western collaborations in recent memory, when Jimin was hand-picked to anchor the lead soundtrack single Angel Part 1 for the multi-million-dollar action franchise Fast X. Think about the sheer cultural gravity of this project, because Hollywood music supervisors didn't just place him on a generic pop track, they positioned Jimin as the emotional core of a massive cross-genre anthem alongside hip-hop heavyweights like Kodak Black and NLE Choppa, indie pop sensation JVKE, and contemporary R&B powerhouse Mooney Long. When you listen to that track, it becomes blindingly obvious why Western artists are so incredibly desperate to collaborate with him. While the other artists deliver raw, hard-hitting verses, it is Jimin's angelic, soaring vocal hook that completely elevates the song into a cinematic masterpiece, proving that his voice possesses a universal emotional language that can seamlessly bridge the gap between hardcore American street rap and mainstream commercial pop. But the obsession with Park Jimin doesn't stop with the music charts. He has completely charmed the ultimate gatekeepers of American television and Hollywood's A-list acting elite, perhaps most famously seen in his legendary long-standing creative bromance with late-night television royalty Jimmy Fallon. Fallon, who has interviewed literally every single major global superstar on the planet, has made no secret of his absolute adoration for Jimin, frequently wearing his custom merchandise on air, dedicating entire segments of The Tonight Show to his solo releases, and treating him with a level of genuine peer-to-peer warmth and professional respect that is incredibly rare in the highly scripted world of American television promotions. And who could ever forget the absolutely iconic moment when Hollywood heavyweight Ryan Gosling publicly sent a video message directly to Jimin during the massive global press rollout for the blockbuster movie Barbie? Gosling, playing the character of Ken, openly admitted to the entire world that Jimin had actually worn a specific Western cowboy outfit first and vastly better in the music video for Permission to Dance, and in accordance with the strict Ken code, Gosling officially gifted Jimin his most prized possession from the movie set, the original high-end acoustic Ken guitar. This wasn't just a simple marketing stunt, it was a profound cross-industry acknowledgement from one of Hollywood's biggest leading men, validating Jimin's status as a premier global fashion and cultural icon whose aesthetic choices ripple across the entire entertainment industry. As we move through 2026, the American fascination with Jimin has only intensified following the massive, sustained global success of his solo album Muse and its explosive lead single Who, a track that completely obliterated the American Spotify and Apple Music charts for consecutive months, proving once and for all that his initial historic Billboard run was absolutely not a fluke, but rather the beginning of a sustained American love affair. American radio programmers who were once hesitant to play non-traditional pop tracks completely surrendered to the infectious late 90s R&B-infused rhythm of Who, with vocal coaches across the United States dedicating endless hours to analyzing how Jimin effortlessly maintains his pitch and breath control, while executing complex, high-intensity contemporary choreography. Western artists like Sophia Carson, Khalid, and Alec Benjamin have continuously expressed their deep-seated desire to share a studio space with him, publicly praising his fluid, liquid-like stage presence and his unique ability to convey profound heartbreak and seductive charisma simultaneously through his vocals. What makes Jimin's standing among American artists so incredibly secure is that he represents the absolute pinnacle of the modern triple-threat entertainer, an elite dancer, a historically significant vocalist, and a magnetic cultural icon who commands the absolute loyalty of millions while remaining intensely humble, soft-spoken, and deeply dedicated to the pure craft of performance art. By staying fiercely true to his artistic identity and continuously pushing the physical boundaries of what a soloist can achieve on the global stage, Jimin has built an untouchable sanctuary of respect within the heart of Western entertainment, leaving audiences completely breathless and constantly guessing what kind of historic, record-breaking milestones this angelic powerhouse will conquer as BTS continues their legendary journey.
Number 4. J-Hope, the street dance pioneer, unlocking true hip-hop respect. When you talk about the ultimate test of survival and acceptance within the American music landscape, you have to look past the glitzy pop radio stations and step directly onto the gritty, uncompromising concrete of the underground street dance and hip-hop communities, a brutal arena where respect cannot be bought with money, corporate power, or massive streaming numbers, but must be earned through pure talent, rhythm, and raw authenticity. This brings us perfectly to number 4 on our countdown, J-Hope, also known as Jung Hoseok, a creative powerhouse who has achieved a level of profound reverence among foundational American hip-hop pioneers that most foreign artists could only dream of achieving in a lifetime. To truly understand the staggering scale of J-Hope's clout in the United States, you have to realize that American hip-hop purists are notoriously some of the most fiercely protective and skeptical gatekeepers in the entire global entertainment industry. They do not care about trendy dance challenges or polished pop visuals, but the moment J-Hope hits the floor, his absolute mastery of old-school street dance, popping, locking, and classic boom-bap flow commands immediate silence and respect from the very architects of the genre. The definitive historic turning point that forever solidified his legendary status in the West occurred in the summer of 2022 when J-Hope made history as the first ever South Korean artist to headline a main stage at a major American music festival, taking over the monumental Lollapalooza in Chicago. The industry held its breath, wondering if a solo K-pop artist could handle a massive, raw American festival crowd that wasn't strictly composed of dedicated K-pop fans. But what followed was an absolute cultural earthquake, affectionately dubbed Hope-Palooza by media outlets, where J-Hope commanded a sea of over 100,000 screaming fans, completely shattering festival ticket sales records and single-handedly crashing the global Hulu live streaming platform. Behind the scenes, veteran American rock and hip-hop acts who performed that weekend were completely mesmerized by his terrifyingly sharp stage presence and his ability to effortlessly control a massive crowd for over an hour with nothing but a live band in his raw, unfiltered microphone control. But if you think his festival dominance was a one-time peak, you are deeply mistaken, because J-Hope's true crowning achievement of Western artistic validation arrived with his monumental, soul-stirring solo single, On the Street, featuring none other than the legendary American rap icon, J. Cole. You have to understand that J. Cole is widely regarded as one of the big three modern prophets of American conscious hip-hop. A lyricist who is notoriously reclusive, rarely ever does features from mainstream pop stars, and only aligns himself with artists who possess deep artistic integrity. Yet he didn't just give J-Hope a generic throwaway verse. He opened up his soul on the track, openly calling J-Hope his brother and delivering a deeply philosophical performance that left American music critics completely stunned.
The sheer emotional gravity of this link-up stems from a beautiful full-circle narrative journey, as J-Hope had spent his teenage years in Gwangju studying J. Cole's discography to learn how to write rap verses, and years later he was standing shoulder to shoulder with his childhood idol on a rooftop in the middle of New York City, shooting a gritty, authentic street-style music video that felt like a love letter to the very foundations of hip-hop culture. American hip-hop media outlets like Hip Hop DX and Complex went into an absolute frenzy analyzing the track, praising J-Hope for his incredibly smooth cadence, his rhythmic pocket, and his refusal to dilute his Korean identity while adapting perfectly to J. Cole's signature neo-soul production style. This deep-seated respect from the hip-hop elite extends across genres, as seen in his legendary 2019 collaboration with Latin pop powerhouse Becky G on Chicken Noodle Soup, a track that paid direct homage to the classic Harlem street dance track that inspired J-Hope when he was a young underground dancer, earning him immense praise from original Harlem hip-hop creators who were deeply touched by his meticulous cultural research and respectful execution. Even within the elite realms of modern Southern rap, his distinct artistic flavor has left a massive impression, leading to highly praised artistic cosigns from modern hip-hop queens like Glorilla and Lotto, who frequently speak about his infectious, explosive energy and his brilliant understanding of syncopated rhythms. Moving through 2025 and into the current landscape of 2026, following his highly anticipated return from military service, J-Hope's influence on the American urban music scene has only multiplied, particularly through his critically acclaimed documentary series and album, Hope on the Street, which saw him traveling back to the birthplaces of street dance in New York and Los Angeles to jam, battle, and create alongside legendary American street dancers who openly treat him as a peer rather than a commercial pop star. His unique creative brilliance has also caught the eye of the ultimate American multi-hyphenate mogul, Pharrell Williams, who has been working closely with J-Hope on highly confidential music and high-end streetwear design projects for Louis Vuitton, with behind-the-scenes studio sessions revealing a deep, mutual creative fascination between the two visionaries. What makes J-Hope's popularity among American artists so completely untouchable and structurally magnificent is that he never sought validation by trying to replicate the aggressive, hyper-commercialized tropes of modern American radio rap. Instead, he leaned heavily into the bright, optimistic, yet deeply complex and raw foundations of 90s hip-hop, using his body as a literal instrument to bridge the gap between East and West. By remaining fiercely loyal to the soul of street dance and continuous self-improvement, J-Hope has earned a permanent gold standard seal of approval from the most critical ears in American hip-hop culture, leaving audiences worldwide completely spellbound and eagerly waiting to see how this dancing prophet will continue to revolutionize global urban music as BTS launches their massive 2026 stadium era.
Number 3. Suga, the shadow producer, the genius behind Hollywood's darkest hits. When we cross the threshold into the top 3 of our definitive ranking, we leave behind the world of traditional performers and step straight into the mastermind territory of a man who doesn't just sing the songs that shape global culture, but literally builds them from the ground up inside the dark, isolated walls of his recording studio. Number 3 belongs to Suga, also known as August D or Min Yoongi, an enigmatic musical architect whose popularity among American artists is built on a foundation fundamentally different from anyone else on this list, because in the fiercely competitive Western music industry, singers are highly expendable, but elite producers who can rewrite the emotional DNA of a track are treated like absolute gold. Have you ever wondered how a young, underground beatmaker who once had to choose between buying a cheap bowl of noodles or a bus ticket home in Daegu managed to become the secret weapon for some of the biggest multi-platinum artists in the United States? The answer lies in his terrifyingly brilliant production mind and his raw, unapologetic willingness to explore the darkest corners of the human psyche, a creative trait that instantly separated him from the typical polished image of global pop stars and earned him the deep, peer-to-peer respect of Hollywood's most selective creators.
Western hitmakers do not approach Suga looking for a quick, superficial dance feature to boost their streaming numbers on social media. Instead, they come to him with absolute reverence, treating him as an executive-level composer capable of injecting raw, melancholic complexity into their music. This profound artistic respect is perhaps most beautifully illustrated through his historic, deeply emotional collaboration with American alternative pop icon Halsey, a multi-Grammy-nominated visionary who's openly declared Suga as her ultimate creative soulmate. Their historic collaboration began when Halsey specifically requested Suga to construct a deeply personal interlude for her critically acclaimed album Manic, a track appropriately titled Suga's Interlude, where she completely stepped aside to let Yoongi deliver a hauntingly introspective, self-produced Korean rap verse that deconstructed the suffocating pressures of global fame and artistic burnout. Think about the sheer weight that industry cosign, because an American pop superstar willingly handed over a precious slot on her highly anticipated mainstream album to a foreign-language rapper, trusting his sonic vision implicitly, a bond that reached a glorious cinematic peak when they reunited to unleash the dark, gothic anthem Lilith for the massive Hollywood blockbuster gaming franchise Diablo 4. The music video, filmed inside a breathtaking, historic American cathedral, shocked the Western industry as Suga delivered hard-hitting, gravelly verses wrapped in an atmospheric, industrial rock production that left alternative music critics absolutely spellbound by his chameleonic ability to adapt to any musical genre. But if you think his influence is limited to the alternative pop scene, you are deeply mistaken, because Suga's raw, authentic roots in hip-hop have earned him legendary validation within the elite American rap and R&B communities, a reality laid bare by his heartbreaking, posthumous collaboration with the late emo rap icon Juice WRLD on the monumental track Girl of My Dreams. When the track dropped, it exploded to the absolute top of the Billboard Digital Song Sales chart, making Suga the first South Korean soloist to ever debut at #1 on that specific chart, an achievement that sent shockwaves through the American hip-hop establishment, as veteran rap producers openly marveled at how seamlessly Suga's raw, emotional delivery blended with Juice WRLD's signature tragic lyricism, proving that true pain and artistic brilliance require no translation. This deep-seated reverence from his American peers extends into the realm of beautiful, long-standing personal friendships, most notably seen in his creative partnership with American pop singer Max on the hit singles Blueberry Eyes and Burn It. Max was so intensely moved by Suga's artistic generosity and genuine humility that he did something virtually unheard of for an American artist. He spent weeks meticulously studying and memorizing the exact Korean phonetic pronunciations of Suga's rapid-fire Korean rap lyrics, just so he could perform them live on stage as a supreme sign of artistic respect, a beautiful testament to a brotherhood that saw them casually hanging out at Los Angeles Clippers basketball games and sharing quiet meals away from the flashing cameras of the paparazzi. What truly sets Suga apart as an absolute titan in the eyes of Western music executives was his historic D-Day World Tour, a monumental solo arena run where he became the first BTS member to completely sell out legendary American venues like the Kia Forum in Los Angeles and the Allstate Arena in Chicago entirely under his solo moniker, August D. American live music promoters were left absolutely staggered as they watched a single man control a massive, fiery, rock-infused stage production with nothing but his raw tongue technology, a live band, and an overwhelming rock star aura that proved he possesses the star power to command the American touring market completely on his own terms. Behind the mixing consoles in Los Angeles and New York, elite American sound engineers and producers frequently speak in absolute awe of Min Yoongi's technical mastery over music production software like Logic Pro, noting that he is a relentless studio rat who understands the precise mathematics of frequency balancing, syncopated drum programming, and vocal layering, making him a true contemporary of Western production giants. His artistic gravitas was further cemented when iconic Western musicians openly wept listening to his masterpiece track Snooze, a song featuring the late legendary Oscar-winning composer Ryuichi Sakamoto and American indie rock icon Woo Sung, creating a multi-generational bridge of pure musical respect
that transcended geographical borders entirely. Even as we navigate the current landscape of 2026, with BTS standing tall at the absolute peak of global entertainment after their historic group reunion, Suga's lingering shadow over the American music industry remains incredibly potent, as top-tier Western artists continuously line up in hopes of receiving a beat or a verse from his highly exclusive vault. He has proven to the entire world that true popularity among artists isn't about chasing the spotlight or conforming to the sanitized, fast-paced trends of Western pop radio. Instead, by locking himself in the studio, staying fiercely loyal to his hip-hop roots, and masterfully curating his own sonic universe, he forced the gatekeepers of Hollywood to come knocking on his door. Suga has carved out an untouchable, legendary status as the ultimate musical mastermind of his generation, leaving audiences and industry insiders completely mesmerized, desperately wondering what kind of dark, genre-bending masterpieces this quiet genius will unleash next upon the global music landscape.
Number 2. RM. The intellectual blueprint, rewiring the minds of Hollywood royalty. When we arrive at the penultimate spot on our countdown, we are no longer just looking at a musician who successfully crossed over into the Western market, but rather at the literal architect, the spiritual anchor, and the intellectual giant who single-handedly built the very bridge that allowed the global K-pop phenomenon to enter the fortress of American pop culture in the first place. Number 2 belongs to the leader of BTS, RM, also known as Kim Namjoon, a visionary lyricist, philosopher, and cultural icon whose popularity and reverence among elite American artists is so profound that he is widely regarded across the industry as the ultimate musician's musician. To truly grasp the jaw-dropping scale of RM's clout in the United States, you have to look past standard radio metrics and understand that the Western music industry, especially the hypercritical worlds of American hip-hop, neo-soul, and alternative rock, is notoriously skeptical of anyone emerging from a commercial pop background. Yet RM completely shattered that bias by engaging with Western legends not as a commercial idol chasing a trendy American hit, but as an intellectual peer who speaks the universal language of raw poetry and societal critique. The journey of his unmatched respect in the West actually traces back to the very foundations of his career, when a young, underground teenage rapper from Ilsan taught himself fluent English by meticulously watching the American sitcom Friends, a linguistic weapon that would later allow him to fearlessly stand before the United Nations to deliver a historic speech, charm the absolute toughest American late-night talk show hosts, and command rooms full of cynical Hollywood executives with absolute eloquence and grace. But while his diplomatic brilliance made him the face of a global movement, it was his terrifyingly sharp pen game and production instincts that caused the true gatekeepers of American music to view him as an untouchable creative force, beginning with early career validation from West Coast hip-hop pioneer Warren G. in Los Angeles, who openly praised RM's innate understanding of hip-hop's complex social roots. This early spark evolved into a massive, earth-shaking cross-cultural milestone when RM linked up with American conscious rap legend Whale to drop the politically charged anthem Change, a track that stunned Western music critics because instead of delivering a superficial pop track about partying, RM used his massive global platform to directly address systemic societal issues, online bullying, and the desperate cry of a younger generation fighting for a better world, earning immediate, deep-seated respect from the core American hip-hop community. If you want to talk about absolute creative validation, look no further than his masterpiece solo album Indigo, which American music publications hailed as a historical archive of a young artist's soul, featuring a lineup of Western legends that left the industry completely speechless, most notably the high priestess of neo-soul herself, Miss Erykah Badu.
You have to understand that Erykah Badu is a multi-Grammy-winning musical deity who is fiercely protective of her craft and notoriously rejects almost every single collaboration request that comes across her desk from mainstream Western pop stars. Yet she willingly agreed to anchor RM's opening track, Yoon, because the moment she heard his demo and read his philosophical lyrics about wanting to maintain his humanity amidst the suffocating machinery of global fame, she felt a profound spiritual kinship with him, later going on her personal platforms to openly praise his deep soul, creative maturity, and artistic purity. On that very same album, RM joined forces with multi-Grammy-winning funk virtuoso Anderson .Paak on the infectious track Still Life, creating a vibrant genre-blending studio chemistry that saw Anderson .Paak publicly gushing about RM's brilliant rhythmic timing and infectious creative energy, cementing a genuine peer-to-peer friendship that extended to them casually jamming together backstage and supporting each other's live shows without a single camera crew in sight. But just when the Western industry thought they had mapped out RM's soulful alternative sonic trajectory, he completely flipped the script and sent the entire internet into an absolute meltdown with his historic world-stopping collaboration with the undisputed queen of modern Southern hip-hop, Megan Thee Stallion, on the aggressive banger Never Play. When that track dropped, it completely obliterated the global charts, but what left American rap purists completely breathless was the sheer, unadulterated power of RM's vocal delivery. Stepping entirely out of his diplomatic leader persona, he unleashed a gravelly, deep bass, slow-burning rap cadence that perfectly matched Megan's fierce, rapid-fire Texas flow, causing Megan herself to go live on social media, completely losing her mind, repeatedly calling Namjoon an absolute genius and expressing her immense gratitude for his contribution to her musical universe. This level of explosive versatility is exactly why iconic alternative rock bands like Fall Out Boy specifically sought out RM to completely re-energize their hit track, Champion, knowing that his assertive, stadium-clearing rap delivery was the only voice capable of cutting through their heavy walls of distorted electric guitars and thunderous live drums. A cross-genre triumph that was mirrored on the grandest stage of human entertainment when RM stood tall alongside Lil Nas X at the Grammy Awards for the legendary Old Town Road All-Stars performance, effectively becoming the first ever South Korean artist to perform at the prestigious ceremony. Moving through the current artistic landscape, RM's influence has transcended the boundaries of the recording studio and bled deeply into the elite American fine art and museum curation worlds, where his massive philanthropic donations to U.S. art institutions and his highly publicized visits to galleries across New York, Marfa, and Los Angeles have turned him into a premier cultural renaissance man whose taste patterns are closely studied by contemporary American visual artists and intellectual elites alike. His latest masterpiece solo album, which completely defied the standard pop formula with its gritty, experimental indie alternative production, earned him glowing multi-page reviews from notoriously harsh American music bibles like Pitchfork and Rolling Stone, with veteran Western producers marveling at how a global pop icon could completely strip away his commercial armor to deliver a raw, avant-garde sonic statement that challenges the very nature of modern music consumption. What makes RM's popularity among American artists so completely monumental and structurally untouchable is that he never once had to dilute his intellectual identity, compromise his complex artistic philosophies, or mimic the fleeting trends of Western radio to gain entry into the elite circles of Hollywood entertainment. Instead, he stood firmly in his truth as a Korean lyricist, bringing the entire weight of his cultural heritage and personal intellect to the table, forcing the gatekeepers of the American music empire to completely reevaluate what it means to be a global superstar.
RM has built an absolute fortress of respect within the heart of Western entertainment, leaving audiences around the globe completely spellbound and endlessly fascinated, desperately waiting to see how this brilliant rap prophet and cultural diplomat will continue to redefine the boundaries of global art as BTS completely takes over the international stadium landscape.
Number 1. Jungkook, the golden standard, conquering the global pop throne. And now we have finally arrived at the absolute pinnacle of our definitive countdown, the crowning moment where we pull back the final curtain to reveal the member who has achieved the absolute highest tier of commercial dominance, radio saturation, and pure, unadulterated adoration among the absolute elite of the mainstream American pop and R&B industries. Number 1 belongs to none other than the legendary golden maknae, Jungkook, also known as Jungkook, a generational powerhouse who has successfully transitioned from a fiercely ambitious young boy studying Western music videos in a small dance studio in Busan to becoming the absolute structural blueprint for modern global pop music. A dazzling icon whom the biggest names in Hollywood openly treat not just as a collaborator, but as an untouchable musical force of nature. To truly grasp the staggering, record-shattering scale of Jungkook's clout across the United States, you have to realize that the American mainstream music market is a notoriously brutal, fast-moving and hyper-competitive machine that usually protects its own Western pop royalty with fierce gatekeeping. Yet the moment Jungkook launched his solo era, he didn't just knock on the doors of Hollywood, he completely blew them off their hinges and forced the entire global entertainment industry to crown him as the definitive new king of pop. The historic seismic shift began with his legendary organic link-up with American pop singer Charlie Puth on the infectious mega-hit Left and Right, a track born out of Charlie's absolute self-admitted obsession with Jungkook's flawless vocal abilities, with Charlie frequently going live on social media to express sheer bewilderment at how Jungkook possesses a perfect pitch and an innate understanding of vocal harmony stacks that usually take veteran Western studio singers decades to master. But that was merely a warning shot for the absolute cultural earthquake that would occur when Jungkook officially rolled out his debut solo masterpiece album, Golden, a project that saw the absolute highest tier of multi-Grammy-winning American hitmakers, including elite producers like Andrew Watt and Circuit, lining up around the block just to work with him, with Andrew Watt later publicly stating in major American music journals that Jungkook's studio work ethic is downright terrifying, earning him the legendary nickname of the One-Take King in Los Angeles recording circles, because he could track complex triple-layered pop vocals and challenging English pronunciations with a speed, precision, and tonal clarity that completely outclassed almost every mainstream Western artist they had ever shared a booth with. This unparalleled studio mastery culminated in the release of his historic solo single, 7, featuring the fiery American rap queen, Lotto, a track that didn't just debut at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, but went on to completely obliterate the global music landscape, becoming the fastest song in human history to surpass 1 billion streams on Spotify, an astronomical achievement that left American music executives completely staggered as they watched a South Korean soloist comfortably outperform traditional Western streaming giants on their own home turf, while Lotto herself publicly gushed about Jungkook's immense professionalism, magnetic screen presence, and pure artistic humility during their high-energy music video shoot. But just when the Western industry thought they had seen the absolute peak of his commercial power, Jungkook delivered what is widely considered the ultimate gold standard cosign in modern R&B history by joining forces with the legendary multi-Grammy-winning king of American pop and R&B performance, Usher, for an explosive show-stopping remix and performance video of Standing Next to You. You have to understand the immense cultural gravity of this moment, because Usher is a living legend, a global icon who literally defined the golden era of modern American dance and vocal performance, an artist who notoriously does not share his spotlight lightly, yet he openly welcomed Jungkook into his creative inner circle as an absolute equal peer, standing shoulder to shoulder with him in a gritty, high-stakes dance warehouse to execute some of the most complex, retro-infused choreography
choreography ever seen on film, matching him step for step with a fluid, liquid-smooth precision that proved to the entire Western media establishment that Jungkook is the true, legitimate successor to the lineage of absolute performance titans like Michael Jackson and Justin Timberlake. This profound multi-generational respect was further solidified when the original Prince of Pop himself, Justin Timberlake, jumped onto a high-profile remix of Jungkook's hit single 3D alongside American rap superstar Jack Harlow, a link-up that drove American pop radio programmers into an absolute frenzy as they watched Jungkook seamlessly bridge the gap between different eras of American boy band leaders who successfully evolved into era-defining solo megastars, with Jack Harlow openly praising Jungkook's effortless coolness and undeniable global star quality. Even on the global stage of human entertainment, American superstars like Justin Bieber, Most Malone, and Ty Dolla $ign have continuously expressed their absolute awe and desire to share a creative space with him, a reality that was visually burned into the collective consciousness of billions when Jungkook stood entirely alone at the center of the Al Bayt Stadium for the FIFA World Cup opening ceremony, commanding the entire planet with his performance of Dreamers, an iconic moment that caused elite American vocal coaches and musicologists to spend months analyzing his immaculate breath control, flawless vocal placement, and magnetic stage command. Moving through the current musical landscape of 2026, following the monumental and historic reunion of BTS, Jungkook's individual standing within the inner sanctums of Hollywood has only grown more untouchable, as his solo records continue to maintain a permanent record-breaking residency on the Billboard charts, proving once and for all that his initial mainstream explosion was absolutely not a passing viral trend, but the definitive dawning of a new global pop empire. What makes Jungkook's popularity among American artists so completely unrivaled, emotionally profound, and structurally magnificent is that he never had to change who he was, alter his deeply respectful Korean values, or rely on cheap, short-lived internet gimmicks to achieve total Hollywood validation. Instead, he relied on the pure, unadulterated mastery of his craft, his angelic yet powerfully resonant vocals, his world-class choreography execution, and a blinding, natural-born charisma that completely transcends geographical boundaries, languages, and cultural barriers. By remaining fiercely dedicated to continuous self-improvement and pouring his entire soul into every single note he sings, Jungkook has carved out a permanent platinum-plated throne of absolute respect at the very center of the Western music industry, leaving audiences, critics, and fellow artists around the globe completely spellbound, endlessly wondering what kind of historic, gravity-defying milestones this golden icon will conquer next as BTS continues their legendary journey of global dominance.